Hello everyone, my name is Mia. I had the pleasure this year of being one of 3 chaperones on the senior India trip. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Good.
Okay. This was the 2nd time I traveled to India. The first time was as a senior, back in the olden days when I was a student here at Oak Grove. It was an amazing trip, life-altering, and I always hoped that I would go back someday. When the opportunity arose for me to join this year's senior class, I felt honored and excited and, quite honestly, overwhelmed. I knew it would be an incredible amount of work to plan a trip like this, and an amazing amount of responsibility to care for 8 young adults as we traveled through a very foreign country on the other side of the world. But looking at the list of students who were to go on the trip, I thought, yes, this is definitely a group of people I would love to travel with. April, Brewster, Jasper, Julia, Julian, Leilani, Miles, and Sophia are each thoughtful, talented, intelligent individuals. In India, they turned those personal qualities into an impressive group dynamic. They were like Voltron, joining forces, combining their personal strengths to make one invincible, world-traveling team.
Tonight the students will share their images and thoughts they've collected along their travels. And I would actually like to take some time to say thank yous to some people. First off, I'd like to thank Ray Cartagena. We couldn't have done it without you, for sure. I'd also like to thank Christy Lee, Alex Smith, and Karen Hesley for helping us get started in this whole process. It's a little daunting at first, for your inspiration and all of your good travel ideas. I'd also like to thank all of our friends at Oak Grove School. We couldn't have done it without your smiling faces and your well wishes. To Meredith Benson Rice for giving me and I the opportunity to go on this trip together, because I don't know that I could have made it a week without you. Honestly, that would have killed me. To our parents, I know Mia's mom and dad are out there. Thanks for being so supportive and helping the transition home be that much easier for us. Well-stocked fridge was awesome. To the parents of the seniors, thanks for all your help, support, and hard work, and thanks for trusting us with your children in another country. And to the most important people, the students, Julia, Sophia, Jasper, Leilani, Brewster, Miles, Julian, and April. Thanks for being the most wonderful, thoughtful group of kids. You're adventurous and flexible, and all of you are vocally talented, as the song proves. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
I wanted to add one last thank you to Jeff and Liz Otterbein, who were my chaperones when I traveled to India. I still have so much gratitude for how you led our class.
Without further ado, the Oak Grove Senior Class presents India Night.
To describe India in my own words is beyond my ability,
So I borrowed from the book entitled Soul by Patricia McCormick. Quote, I crane my neck this way, then that, looking at a man scooping hot popcorn into a paper cone, next to a barber lathering an old man's face, next to a boy plucking the feathers from a lifeless chicken, next to an ear cleaner, his customer grunting with satisfaction, next to a woman whose arms are draped with 100 necklaces, next to a water buffalo napping in the shade, next to a man selling cucumbers, next to a man chanting a prayer, next to a man scooping hot popcorn into a paper cone. This may sound like a first impression of a foreign land, but it expresses my reaction every day. In each new city or even each new street, I shifted my gaze from one person to another, from one color to the next, from a street vendor to a beggar to a cow eating trash. The vivid colors of the saris and kurtas, the constant rumble of the city drivers, and the always changing and always present smells overwhelmed my senses. This may sound picturesque, but truthfully, some of it I would have rather avoided. The smells could be overpowering, and I must have looked rude covering my nose with the collar of my shirt. Life is unmasked in India, and it's not always pretty. After all the sensory overload, it was back to America. When I returned to Los Angeles, I saw a man in a gray suit, next to a woman drinking Starbucks, next to an organic health food store, next to a woman on her cell phone, next to a man waving a billboard for a pizza shop, next to a man in a gray suit. As I strained looking left and right, I saw my ordinary world with new eyes. The traffic was so organized. No one was praying. There weren't any cows in the street, and everyone was dressed in neutral colors. Then it hit me. From an Indian's perspective, California must seem pretty darn exotic.
my face riding an auto rickshaw, a little three-wheeled taxi painted in yellow and green. My first time in an auto was exhilarating. You would weave in and out of traffic, head straight into oncoming cars, and the driver would honk continuously throughout the whole ride. During the journey, we would rarely speak, the scenery outside being so different from what we were used to. I remember looking out and seeing houses and apartments painted in bright purples and greens, cows walking like they own the place, and tons of people staring at us. People walking along the street would see us drive past and wave or smile, or both. It's one of the things I really liked about India, the openness of people. Random motorcyclists would talk to each other while waiting at a red light, while a beggar might come up and offer a blessing for a few rupees. I would smile at a stranger, and they would smile back. It made me realize that even with obvious language barriers, people can still communicate. Here in America, it's sort of weird to smile randomly at a stranger. Most people either ignore you or think they must know you. In India, you don't have to know someone to be friendly. I noticed that kind of openness at the Rishi Valley School. I don't know what I expected when I got there, but it turned out to be the place I liked the most. The school is out in the middle of nowhere, nestled in a valley of tropical trees and wild animals. Monkeys were our neighbors, and birds woke us at 5 in the morning with their squawking. After school, we hung out with the seniors, or as they say, the 12pies. They invited us to play volleyball, dance traditional folk dances with them, and help them decorate for their New Year's dance. I really enjoyed our time there. I'm glad I made some good friends. At the Valley School in Bangalore, which is also in the middle of nowhere, I noticed that same kind of friendliness. The students here had all been going to the same school since kindergarten, which meant they were all comfortable around each other, sort of like Oak Grove, a great big family. When I came back, I noticed my mindset had changed. I was happier, and when I encountered a negative feeling or emotion, I just let it be. I smiled at every stranger I saw, and even though they didn't necessarily smile back, I still felt better. It seemed a little strange that people kept to their lanes here and no one honked. It was hauntingly quiet. No one was walking barefooted, and there wasn't any trash burning on the side of the road. It was almost too clean. Returning home was strange, and it took me a while to get back into the swing of things. All in all, I know that the 10-year India visa, I have some time to decide if I want to go back.
Before I went to India, I expected all the students to fit my stereotype of the traditional Indian. I expected everybody to be devout Hindus, committed vegetarians, and what have you. In addition to this, I didn't expect to find anyone with similar interests to my own. I assumed all this to be true, especially at the schools, seeing as Rishi Valley and the Valley School are definitely strict as far as the West goes. However, after getting to know the students, I found that my stereotypes were nothing more than just that, stereotypes, and that people are people no matter where you go. It wasn't like I had with the same interests and knowledge of Western culture. I recall asking a Rishi Valley student what he thought about vegetarianism in India. He responded, "Animals eat other animals. It's the way of life. Plus, meat tastes awesome." To my surprise, I also found that most Indians had a very good grasp of American politics, much greater than that of the average American. I discovered this in a political discussion with a Rishi Valley student. This student had very strong views and wasn't afraid to voice his opinions on the atrocities of capitalism and the American government. I even found that many Rishi Valley and Valley School students had a surprisingly strong grasp of pop culture. I never expected to find people in India who also spent a majority of their teenage years watching shows like Ed, Edd and Eddy and The Fairly Odd Parents. I also found that many students were mirror images of me in this respect. Surprising, right? Of course, I do realize that these schools are elite, and their students represent the top of Indian society. Nevertheless, I still found these experiences revealing, and they have indeed changed my perception of India, and perhaps, more importantly, my view of stereotypes.
Swimming in midday Bangalore traffic, the four of us were crammed into an auto rickshaw meant for three. We came to an abrupt stop behind a sea of vehicles. On a motorbike next to us was a family of three, mother, father, and a child who was no more than two, all dressed in their finest clothing. The mother and child were balanced precariously on the back of the bike, mere inches away from us. Smiles and nods were exchanged. The toddler, in a red and gold dress, covered in bangles and earrings and makeup, looked at us with wonder. "Oh, she's so beautiful," we exclaimed, which was met with the surprising reply of, "Boy, baby," accompanied with the ubiquitous Indian head bobble. The four of us in the auto looked at each other, speechless, as the traffic picked up and the motorbike sped off ahead of the trucks and autos. India as a whole was in a way similar to the boy-baby experience, completely surprising and perplexing. Surprise was a common emotion during our journey throughout India. Each and every day, something out of the ordinary caught me off guard. Coming back to America, where everything was supposed to be normal, was a big adjustment. The morning after I got back, I drove across town, astonished at the lack of chaos. Several days later, in the sluggish morning traffic, I ironically got in a minor car accident. I was lost in the tedium of the traffic. In possibly the slowest accident ever, I rammed the bumper of the car in front of me. I promptly started laughing as my brother lost his mind in the seat next to me. Having not been to India, the jolt to his routine sent him into a panic. The constant motion and excitement of India had more of an impact on me than I had imagined. Although I have readjusted to Ojai, I have been told by people that I'm a little more calm and quiet than before. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that I've become a little more open to the unexpected.
In the middle of an upper-class Bangalore neighborhood sits an ancient cave temple. It was carved out of massive granite boulder more than a millennium ago and is devoted to Shiva, one of the three great Hindu gods. We were standing in the main area of the temple, which was chiseled out of raw granite. As soon as I stepped through the entrance, two things were immediately clear to me. The cave was small, and it smelled like urine. A priest on the far side of the cave was standing next to a Shiva linga, a stone that's richly bathed with bananas and milk. As we walked by, we heard him chant softly. The gray speckled stone curved off in two directions. A hole in the ceiling cast a luminescent blue glow. While standing there, basking in the blue light, I was suddenly aware of how quiet it was in this rock. A minute before, we were surrounded by Indian traffic with all its yells, honks, and rickshaw engines. Now it was blissfully silent, with only the slight mumble of the visitor doing puja and the shuffling of feet. In that moment, a feeling of tranquility washed over me, but it didn't last long. We started down the left-hand passage. All along the side of our path were dozens of Hindu deities being tended to by devotees. Washing our feet in an uncomfortable silence, we edged past them. At one point, the cave became so low and narrow that movement was difficult. We crept forward sporadically. We were all hunched forward, crouching, and feeling just a bit claustrophobic. Moving on, the ceiling lifted and we were able to stand again, and I found that we were back in the main chamber. As we strolled out of the front gates, we took a fresh breath of Bangalore air. It felt good to get out. India is a place where the holy is mundane. Everywhere you go, you're surrounded by the ancient mixed in with the modern. And now, engulfed by the chaos that is Indian traffic in a nice neighborhood of Bangalore, I can see the scraps of the time-worn past that, floating along in the current, still survive to this day. At home, back in Ojai, we're so removed from history. The vast majority of buildings in California are less than 50 to 100 years old, while in India, there are countless places that have recorded histories of thousands of years. However, all history leads to one place, the present. Remembering this, let us be here now.
My soul, snatched away and dragged through the streets of the afflicted, a blind beggar, grasping at my ankles, the moans of the starved intertwining with the smell of burning trash, a prostitute trailed by her young daughter, the latter attracting more interest, 4 men in mass searching the streets, hungry for opportunity. I cannot imagine. The beggar would beg, the starving starve, the prostitute perform, or the thief steal if there were not a corrosive power at play. Life, it seems, is not fair. People do not choose the poverty that afflicts them. The beggar longs for clothes on his body, the starved for food in their stomachs, the prostitute's daughter for education in her mind. They long for everything we have, yet they receive nothing. Why is this so? Beyond culture, they are driven by the same desires we are. Beyond skin color, we adorn our bodies with the same brands. Beyond social factors, both populations fantasize about finding true love. We are so similar, our common humanity greatly eclipsing our differences. Yet we let our differences define us. Life, it seems, is not fair. The blind beggar. I drop a coin. He blesses the air mechanically. The moans of the starving. I walk the street until I can no longer hear them. The prostitute. I elude her gaze. I do not want to give false hope. The thieves I try to avoid altogether. I could have helped these people. I could have paid the prostitute's daughter's school fees. I could have taken the beggar to a doctor. I could have helped. But all I did was drop a single coin. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'm selfish. Maybe I knew I couldn't help everyone. Maybe I was afraid. I know one thing though. If I could go back, my choices would not be to my benefit. Life is not fair, but life can be better. I could have helped. I could have torn off my luxurious life and handed it away piece by piece until all were equal. I could have made life a little more fair. As we move forward, we will find chances to make a difference. I ask you to help me create a better world, a place where no one is forced to beg, where none go hungry, where education is for all and no one is compelled to steal. Will you help me create a world without suffering.
One early morning, I paddled into a car with my host family and drove to their temple. As we got out of the car, they told me to leave my shoes behind. I followed instructions, even though I was hesitant to walk through a parking lot littered with trash and stained by petroleum. As we flocked to the entrance with the other worshippers, the cold marble staircase glistened in the morning sun. I was stunned by the sheer beauty of the temple. It was decorated from floor to ceiling with statues, carvings, and murals of all the Hindu deities. We lined up in front of 3 intricately carved wooden chambers with about 150 other people. As the priest prepared to enter, the ceremony started with music and chanting. They blew conch shells, then the sacred chamber doors swung open and clouds of thick smoke came rolling over us. We were instantly hit with the fragrance of incense, and as it cleared away, we were able to see mystical statues of the gods inside. The priest gave the deities gifts of food, drinks, and flowers. Then they gently fanned them, lit candles, rang bells, and led us in chants and songs. And ear-piercing music began to play through cheap speakers. The worshippers started dancing, shouting, jumping, chanting, kneeling, and touching their heads to the floor. All the while I stood there, eyes wide open, absorbing every last detail. The smells, the sounds, the visual, and the energy pulsing through me was magnificent. As we walked out of the temple, we were blessed, given flowers, and a sweet nectar which was intended to prolong life and even conquer death. As someone with no religious affiliation, I was in awe of their spirituality. I couldn't believe how enthusiastic and wholeheartedly invested they were in these rituals. The sensory overload I was having made me think, this is missing from my life. Even though I was so moved by the temple experience, I am not interested in joining a religion. I love spending time in nature, and it makes me feel like I am a part of something bigger than myself. Maybe I am simply drawn to beauty, of a Hindu temple or of a mountain range. India showed me how beautiful my life could be if I let it.
I watched anxiously as the official continued to scrutinize my passport. After 10 minutes, most of my classmates were heading for the departure gate. I had enjoyed India, but I didn't quite like the idea of being left behind while my class flew back home. My worrying continued, yet nowhere was my fear reflected in the passport control official. Finally, I asked if everything was all right. His response was simple. He said, "Ah, do not worry, sir. Everything works in India." Yes, sir, everything works in India. And he's right, it does. Once when we were heading to the Valley School in Bangalore, our driver got lost. A 2-hour drive turned into 4, and we sat back and chuckled as the driver drove in circles, asking around 15 to 20 bystanders for directions. Finally, he had seemed to have obtained the information he needed. He was determined, and to save time, drove the wrong way down a one-way street. I was truly terrified, staring in disbelief. Cars veered to the sides, honking, but no one seemed too fazed. The experience brought up a general point. The Indians have a seemingly haphazard way of going about things, yet somehow everything works out. There seem to be no traffic rules, it's mostly horns, yet millions navigate the streets. Perhaps an organizing principle is the idea of compromise. While I was traveling, I really thought about why India had such a different feel than America. What I found was that there's a little more forgiveness there, a little more room for error. Mistakes seem to be accepted, understood, and forgiven with a nod and a smile. I believe I was experiencing a collectivist society for the first time, and along with this comes a vibrancy and a richness of variety. The airport official eventually did give me back my passport, and I joined the rest of my class in the gate area. During the journey home, I wanted to mull over everything, but I was too tired to do so. Now that I'm back, I've had time to think. I realize that I can allow myself more room for error and more forgiveness.